The question for today is what is company? In the simplest possible words, it is an association of people for trade. A partnership is also an association of people in which people pool together their resources for carrying on a business. Same is done here. But the basic difference is that a company is a distinct personality. A firm is not distinct personality from its partners, but a company, you see, it's a distinct personality. It can be, I mean, so far as the definition adopted by the Act is concerned, you would not understand it. It has been, the term company has been defined by the Companies Act of 2017 in Section 2, Paragraph 17. It says company means a company formed and registered under this Act or the company law. But I have chosen a definition from a dictionary. There's a very famous dictionary. It's a Durham Law Dictionary. I feel difficulty in pronouncing this. This is Duhaime. Durham Dictionary. He defines in the following word the term company. He says that a legal entity allowed by just legislation, which permits a group of people as shareholders to apply to the government for an independent organization to be created, which can then focus on pursuing set objectives and empowered with legal rights, which are usually only reserved for individuals, such as to sue and be sued on property, hire employees, or loan and borrow money. It's too long. A best definition must be short, inclusive, and exclusive. Anyways, it's an association of people in which people invest their money and they don't take part in carrying on the business, unlike partnership. In a company, people just invest their money and they become shareholders. Few of them may take active part after becoming directors. But normally, a shareholder takes no part in carrying on the business. Although, you see, he has a say in the company's decision, you will come to know later at the end of today's lesson. But he is a shareholder, and the business is run by representative chosen by the shareholders. For understanding the very nature of the company, we would need to compare it with the firm. Why? Because of similarities. There are similarities between company and partnership. And just to get ourselves, you see, just to avoid confusion in the future, we would need to differentiate between, or we would need to discuss points of differentiation between these two entities, trade entities, so that we can well understand what the company is. So the first point of differentiation between a firm and a company is registration. I hope you remember that at the end of our lesson on partnership, we concluded, I told you that registration of a company is not compulsory. So a firm is not compulsorily registerable. It's optional for the firm either to get, although in reality, every small and big firm is registered. And you see, while we were talking about the consequences of non-registration of a firm, we agreed, if you remember, that although it's not compulsory, but you see, it must be registered to save the company's business from future difficulties. This is the main point, that firm is not registrable compulsorily. While a company, you see, I can't say whether registration is compulsory or not. I mean, it's silly to say, it's funny to say that whether it's compulsory or not. The very For the very creation of a company, you see, registration is needed. A company is created, you see, incorporated in result of registration. There can be no company which is not registered with the Security and Exchange Commission of Pakistan under the Companies Act 2017. Okay, so this is the first point, that if the association of people is registered as a company, then it's a company. If it is not registered, or if it is registered but there are other differences, then it is a firm. Number two, and one of the most important points of differentiation between a company and a firm is legal position. A company, as I told you in the beginning of today's lesson, that a company is a legal personality, a juristic personality. A juristic personality is that personality which is imaginary, although it's imaginary, but it is recognized by the law that there is a personality, and it is very resembling a natural personality. Like me and you, we are natural persons, but a company or other corporate bodies, they are juristic or legal personalities. So a legal personality or a juristic personality has rights and duties as we do. All right. So here, when you compare between a company and a firm is nothing but partners. Partners, when they are collectively referred to, they are called firm. You see, firm is not a distinct personality from the partners. You know it very well. When collectively they are referred to, they are called firm. Individually, they are called partners. But so is not the case with the company. Shareholders, you see, company is a totally distinct, separate personality from its members, from the shareholders. Okay, so in result of incorporation, in result of creation of a company, you see, there are certain requirements which we are going to discuss today. When all those requirements are fulfilled and the company is registered, this legal or juristic personality is created. And let me tell you another interesting thing. If I ask you who is the owner of the firm, obviously you are going to answer, sir, the partners are the owners of the firm. But if I ask you who is the owner of certain company, you see,
So the company itself.
the company itself, Shabazz, very good, well done. Yes, the company itself is the owner. And shareholders are not, unlike partners, shareholders are not the owners of a company. You see, they are just shareholders. Okay. So the second point of differentiation between a company and a firm is legal position or legal personality. Then coming to the lifetime of both the entities. You see, a firm's life is like it's very temporary, very uncertain. Its life is uncertain. Okay, why? Because a firm can anytime be dissolved by any partner, particularly when a partnership is a partnership at will. So you know it very well. You have recently taken the course on partnership law, that if a partnership is on a partnership at will, it can be dissolved by any partner anytime. And if it is a particular partnership for a fixed period, even then it can be dissolved, or it can dissolve at any time whenever a partner dies, or a partner is adjudicated as an insolvent, or a partner becomes insane. In all these three cases, it has to be dissolved. So a firm dies with the death of just single partner. While on the other hand, as against this, a company exists even if 100% of its shareholder die. How it is possible? I mean, they are shareholders. They are holding shares in the form of share certificates. So if they die, all of them die. Company is not going to die, and their shares would be, you see, what can happen to the shares that would be inherited by their legal heirs, their sons and their wives and their daughters. Okay, so they will step into the shoes of the shareholders. Shares would be transferred to them. But company is not going to die with the with the death of 100% of why? Because it's a distinct personality. It's not like a firm. And another important thing in this regard, which I want to make you people understand, that a company is created by law and it can be put to death by law. Okay, so if it is decided, and the decision would be naturally not of the shareholders directly, it would be the decision of a company. Although it would be, in a sense, a decision of the shareholders when they will vote in favor of, you see, winding up of the company. So a company can, its life can be uh, brought to an end by a legal process. While on the other hand, a firm can be, I mean, its life can be ended just by the notice of a partner. So this is another point of differentiation. Then coming to the most important element, you see, or the most important point of differentiation between a firm and a company, and that is liability of members. Do you remember that I told you that the liability of the members of a firm, I mean to say, the liability of the partners of a firm, it is unlimited. And so is the case with the liability of the owner of a sole proprietorship business. It's unlimited. I have make you understand what does it mean. It means that, you see, the if a firm or a sole proprietorship is indebted by some amount of money to third people, third persons, okay, that that amount has to be paid to the creditors. And if the entire capital of the firm or sole proprietorship goes in payment and still there are claims against the sole proprietorship or the partnership, the private property of the partners as well as of the owner of sole proprietorship would be taken and sold by the court for paying off the debt of the business entity. But same is not going to, why the private properties of the partners would be taken to pay off the debt of the partnership? Because they are the owners. They are the owners. I mean, who is liable to pay off? The owner. So since they are owner, a sole proprietor is a owner, partners are owners of the business of partnership. But since here shareholders are not owners, that's why their private property is safe, their liability is limited. And what's the limit of their liability? Their liability is to pay off, you see, for the price of the shares if they have taken certain shares on credit. Now it's not possible under the Act of under Companies Act 2017. No share can be sold, you see, on credit. But previously, under the Act of 2000, sorry, it was 1913, you see, there was a law. If you see a company is there and you see, just suppose for some reason a partner, a shareholder has not paid for few of shares which he holds, you see, at the time of winding up of the business of the company, he will be asked to pay for that. And at the most, what can happen to the investment of partners, to the investment of shareholders, you see, what can happen to them? You see, at the most, they can lose what they have paid or what they have invested in the form of shares. Okay, they will lose that, and still there is a possibility that they will get something in the future. Um, I have a very practical example of Taj Company Limited. Years back, Taj Company was uh, was adjudicated insolvent and it was wound up. So the the procedure is that whatever a company owns in the form of assets, that should be sold by the court and should be distributed among the shareholders, whatever, I mean, ratably. But the Lahore High Court of that time, I don't remember the year, it's a decade ago, the Lahore High Court or Karachi Sindh High Court decided that no, it should it should still publish Qurans. It should still publish Quran and it should earn so that the creditors are paid. So if you take a Quran of 10 years back, you will find on the back page Taj Company under the supervision of Sindh High Court or Lahore High Court. I don't remember. I'm sorry for that. Okay. So it worked and it made you see, profit, it wasn't wound up. The business of the Taj company wasn't wound up. It earned and the creditors were paid, and today it's a living reality. Taj company is there working, you see. So if a company is wound up and if it is felt that the company's business is at loss and it should be wound up and the business should be brought to an end, you see, and creditors are paid. Naturally, when the debts or when the liabilities of a company are more than its assets, it would be wound up. Okay, so in that case, what at the most can happen? You see, whatever the company has would be paid to the creditors. And a shareholder can lose what he has paid for buying the shares. But his private properties are saved from, you see, from attachment and sale by the court. And if you remember, I told you that, you see, people hesitated to invest money in their private businesses or in partnership because of this, you see, this unlimited liability. That's why you see the idea of a firm was conceived so that people invest. So this is a difference, clear difference between a firm and a company, that in a firm, the liability of partners is unlimited, while the liability of shareholders in a firm, you see, it's limited. There's a limit of the liability of the shareholders. Then the next point of differentiation between a company and a firm is transfer of shares. If you recall, I told you that in a firm, one partner cannot transfer his interest to another his interest in the firm business to another partner or to a stranger, to a third person. It's impossible. You see, if he insists, then the company would be, you see, dissolved and reconstituted. But it's very easy in the company business. You see, a partner, if he wanted to transfer his shares to another shareholder or to an outsider, to a third person, it's very easy. You see, and the transferring shareholder never needs the approval or consent of the company for transferring his shares to another person. You see, it's very easy. He can transfer it. Yes, he can let the company know after the transfer that my shares are transferred in the name of the. Do you need to take permission from the government that you are going to transfer your car to another? No, you just transfer, and few weeks or few months after the transfer, you go and you transfer it in the government documents that the car is not no more mine and I have sold it to someone else. So is the case with the transfer of shares. Whenever a person transfers his shares, he can share it without any legal formality, without seeking the permission or consent of the company, and then he can later on, months after the transfer, he can go and get the transfer affected in the record of the company. So let's have a short break because my session is going to end within 2 3 minutes. See you in the next session.